My hands stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like soreness.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Phil J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one-stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show on this Sunday edition. I usually don't come live on Sundays. Usually I'm watching football. But all the teams and games I wanted to watch were earlier, and the really important game that I'm going to watch is later on tonight. So thought I'd break in some breaking news. Yesterday I planned on coming on, but just had some plans with the family and some coworkers. And so that took a little bit longer, and, you know, well, sometimes things happen and things change, but we're here today. And today we're going to be covering the Melodee Buzzard disappearance, or I don't know if we can call it a disappearance. I mean, I guess you can say it's a disappearance. I saw some interesting things that somebody was posting online, and I want to get everybody's opinion on. It's a different take, you know, than what most people are looking at. They're looking at this as her being, you know, gone. I see it as a disappearance. You know, but there's some other folks that don't. And, you know, at the end of the show, we'll look at it and we'll look at what they have to say about it, and kind of see it from a different perspective. I see it as really bad news. You know, if you guys ask me, I see red flags all over this case. And so without further ado, let's break down some of the breaking news that has happened over the weekend, over the last few days. It's quite a bit of stuff, some updates, and maybe perhaps even an idea of where law enforcement are right now. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think law enforcement are much closer than they were before based on what they're doing now. And so we'll break it down and everything else. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the latest out of Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, detectives arrest Ashley Buzzard on unrelated charges. Search for Melodee is ongoing. Sheriff's detectives have arrested 40-year-old Ashley Buzzard on charges unrelated to the ongoing search for her missing 9-year-old daughter. So let's break that down first and foremost. Let's talk about that. These are the charges that they arrested her are not on anything to do with Ashley Buzzard. So the searches that they did from the FBI and the Sheriff's Department didn't result anything that would make somebody believe that they could feel confident in a case against Ashley with a timer ticking. And what that means is once you make an arrest, that's when the timer starts with the speedy trial and things of that nature. And so given the lack of information and evidence that law enforcement probably has, even at this point, given the longevity of how long it had been that Ashley wasn't in school and things like that, and how long she had been gone from the home, there's probably little evidence outside of what they could have found in those searches. And so what this tells me is that they didn't result in anything overly nefarious. So they didn't find anything like, for instance, blood or things like that. And if they found something, it's not enough that they felt confident in a case that if Ashley Buzzard decided to go to trial and you know, choose to do the speedy trial option, that you know, law enforcement at this point probably isn't comfortable in a case against her for anything, whatever that may be. I don't know. I'm still not sure what's going on here, but we'll take it in. Detectives learned of a recent incident where Ashley prevented a victim from leaving a location against their will, which constitutes false imprisonment. So this is a completely separate situation. Somebody went to her place, apparently, and or Ashley went somewhere and prevented a person from leaving wherever they were. So either somebody came over and visited her and she prevented that person from leaving, or she forced herself somewhere and prevented somebody from leaving that area. Now, they're being super... it's super vague, and I mean it's almost to the point where it can almost sound like if there was like a confrontation and somebody was like, all right, I want to walk away, and she's like, no, you're not walking away, and prevent somebody from leaving that area. It sounds like that would constitute for this arrest or this charge at the very least. It also could be something more severe where somebody could go to her house and she could say, you're not leaving, and place herself in front of that person, between that person and that person's exit. So there you have it. Those are the degree of how wide this could be. Now, this also kind of tells me that if they're arresting her for this, and let's just say it's one of the lighter things where if she got into an altercation with somebody, let's just say there was a, I don't know, somebody on TikTok or Twitter or YouTube or some, maybe saw her and started videotaping her, and then she got in her face and said something to this person, and then prevented that person from leaving, and they're utilizing this or that incident to hold her. That says a couple of different things to me. That says, one, that there's not enough there for the arrest, but there is something there for suspicion, right? And that they're going to be holding her there. And obviously also the other thing is too, I mean, Ashley could have prevented somebody from leaving. She's probably under a lot of stress and things of that nature, given the fact that there's a lot of attention on her. And so if, very well could have violated, somebody's rights and an arrest resulted out of that. To me, this all screams out, though, that law enforcement didn't want her to leave. They wanted to apply some pressure, and they wanted to control the situation a little bit better. She was seen with some moving boxes and things of that, and I got a video for that. In fact, let me pull that up real quick on what that looked like. This is from News Nation.
Has this mom been up to since returning home to California alone? She ain't moving heaven and earth to get her little girl back, I'll tell you that. But she may be thinking of moving, because yesterday, according to a neighbor, Ashley had what looked like moving boxes delivered to her home. And she appeared to have changed her hair as well, or her wig once again. Let me just show you the video that we can play for you that was shot right next door of Ashley, weirdly with her purse slung on her shoulder and her boots on, although not leaving the property. Take a look at this.
So law enforcement are seeing this. Maybe they're getting a little bit nervous, thinking maybe she's trying to flee. Maybe she's going to pack some things. So we got to do something. And so they charge her on something. And maybe perhaps, like I said, if it ends up being, and the reason why I'm kind of leaning that this is a situation that they're articulating into how can I put this? They're articulating this arrest so that they can hold her while they build a case against her. I'm starting to lean towards that's what this is. Now, my concern is, the charge right now. If this charge is something that is just that confrontation that I mentioned, where, she gets, and I have no idea what it is. They're being super secretive about it. That kind of tells me that it's probably a situation where it's not as serious, or as I don't want to say it's not as serious, because it is a felony. They gave her $100,000 bond, but it's not like she held a gun to somebody and kept them in prison somewhere. You know, it almost seems, given the fact that they don't want to disclose any information about it, it almost seems like they're trying to kind of keep it hush hush. And that kind of screams to me that they're utilizing this to hold her, maybe to prevent her from fleeing. As we just saw, she was getting moving boxes. Maybe it's to apply some pressure, you know, those type of things. But they go on to say that the crime is not connected to the ongoing search for Melodee. However, detectives are unable to fully outline the crime as it would impede their own investigation. So they don't want to say anything about this arrest that's allowing them to hold him. I wonder if they're afraid of public scrutiny, you know, if they're afraid of, you know, maybe perhaps people are going to be able to see what it is, that this is a crime that law enforcement are utilizing the judicial system as a tool to hold somebody for something that they believe may have done something. Now, to play, I guess, devil's advocate here, you know, if you're law enforcement and you have this suspicion and you want to take somebody's freedom away because you suspect them of doing something, go get the evidence for it, right? And arrest them for that. And so this is twofold, right? It tells me that maybe perhaps, and there's more to it because they've released some other information, but it seems like the information and the evidence that they've gotten since they've released the pictures, I kind of feel that they're not too far away from where they were. I don't think they've taken very many steps. And here's the reason why. So, like I said, this says here on Friday, November 7th, detectives arrested Ashley on a warrant for felony charge of false imprisonment. Bail was set at $100,000. Her book and a photo does not meet the criteria for public release and will not be distributed. Now, $100,000 isn't wildly unattainable. You know, I don't know if the house that she's living in is something that she owns, or if she has a vehicle that she owns right out, that she can get a bail bondsman and, you know, find a way to get 10% to them. You know, it's $10,000. You know, she can, there's a lot of ways that she can get out of that, but, and be out on bail. But what bail also does is provide some restrictions to keep her from fleeing as well, keep her from getting a plane ticket, things like that. So as of now, from what I understand, is she's still locked up. Now, this is another update. This is there's a surveillance video that is being shared from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. This says sheriff's detectives are releasing additional information, including a portion of the surveillance video from October 7th, and update investigative details indicating that Melodee's mother, Ashley Billett, may have changed her appearance during her travel. So they're also saying that during her trip that she was wearing multiple different wigs and things of that nature and changed her appearance. Now, why this is a little bit concerning to me is they have executed a couple of search warrants and things of that nature. They've arrested her. I'm sure they're going through certain things, and they're still asking for help and for information. So if they had a strong lead in a direction, one way or another, they're probably not going to be releasing more information. Law enforcement only releases, information to the public on a need to know basis. And in very rare instances, and very rarely do they release more than they need. And so if they are releasing more information, such as an extended video of Melodee and Ashley Buzzard and their interaction at the rental vehicle place, then that should probably say something, right? And so when you compound that with the arrest of a unrelated charge, now obviously, law enforcement can be, they're not talking about it. They're saying it's suspicious and they're keeping everything close to the vest. But, if law enforcement is suspicious of some criminal activity here and they're just holding her, and they're holding her for a charge that's not affiliated or related to the crime itself or to the disappearance, that should say that they're not confident in that case, for one. And two, they still got some work to do. Let's see. This goes on to say, Investigators believe that Ashley swapped wigs throughout the trip. So there it goes. They swapped it out multiple times, changing to a darker wig that was similar in color and style to the one that Melodee was seen wearing. Well, that's interesting. So she changed to a darker wig, one that was similar in color and style to the one that Melodee was seen wearing. Was Melodee seen during that time? Because if Melodee hadn't been seen anymore and you see her wearing a wig that looks similar to the one that Melodee was wearing, well, who's to say that's not the same wig that Melodee was wearing? And Melodee's just not, there. Like, that's pretty concerning. That throughout the trip, they changed into a darker wig, similar in color and style to the one that Melodee was seen wearing on October 7th. That's interesting. Somebody goes, I believe she is safe. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the safety aspect of it in the end, because it's very plausible that she could be. I mean, she could be into some trouble and is afraid of somebody for some reason, and somebody has her child because of that, and she doesn't feel comfortable or safe going to law enforcement. I mean, that's plausible. We'll talk about it towards the end. Of that as a possibility. But this here is interesting, that she was seen wearing throughout the trip the same wig that Melodee had, or a similar wig that Melodee had. The change in appearance is believed to have been intentional to avoid recognition during the travel. And we'll watch this here in a second. The sheriff's office began its investigation on the 14th of October when school administrators reported that Melodee's prolonged absence. Deputies attempted to locate Melodee and her mother, but were only able to speak with Ashley, who provided no verifiable explanation for Melodee's whereabouts, which kind of screams to me that she did give some sort of explanation, but it's just not something that anybody can verify. It very much sounds, and I've been saying this for a while, like Casey Anthony when law enforcement were looking for her little girl, and she kept coming out with all these different stories that could not be verified. Kind of sounds like that. Now let's watch this. This is an interaction at the rental car place between Melodee and Ashley. I know this is just a snapshot in time, 9 seconds. That first, her first, I don't know why it's not playing there. That doesn't look like somebody who's, I don't know, looking at her child nefariously or anything. But like I said, it's just a snapshot in time. You couldn't see much from this. I hope she's safe. Is Annie the nanny? There you go. The child looks okay and smiling back. Does look like the child is smiling back. So one of the things that I've said is that, based on what they have broken down, let me pull this up real quick. And let me pull up what I have here. Oh, man. Hopefully it works. Nope. Dang it. No. Son of a gun. I thought I had it saved, but I didn't. So the issue is that, here, we'll pull it up here. It's right here. So on October 8th, the Malibu was observed with New York license plates, right? The trip, this whole thing that happened at the rental place was on October 7th. and she rented a white 2024 Chevy Malibu that had a California license plate. The following day, it was observed with a New York license plate. And all they say is that that license plate does not belong to the vehicle nor to Ashley, and is believed to be used in a false or switch plate to avoid detection. And when it returned back, it had the original California plate. Now, the detectives were able to confirm that Melodee was seen on October 9th on surveillance in the region of Colorado and the Utah border. And this is apparently on the return trip back. And they have a, let me pull it up real quick. They have a map that they have provided for everybody to kind of see. And one thing that I've noticed about this map is that it starts off here in Utah, in Green River, Utah. And the last time that Melodee was seen apparently was in the Utah-Colorado border. So I'm assuming it's around here, around Green River. And this trip that is taken all the way back to Lompoc is the direct route that you would take if you were in Green River, Utah, to Lompoc. Keep calling it Poc. Sorry about that. It's Lompoc. And so there's nothing that sticks out. There's nothing that stands out. It's not like she took a wide trip around Las Vegas to avoid cameras or anything like that. She just drove straight home. And this was on the return trip back home is when Melodee is still seen and is last seen with her mom. So to me, license plate changing and the trip itself, the intention of the trip doesn't sound like it was to get rid of Melodee or to sell her or traffic her. It sounds like something happened on the return trip home. Now, could she have arranged something on the way home for somebody? Plausible. But if she's arranging for something for someone and the intention of the trip is something illegal, let's just say that it was a drug drop. I find it weird that, she would be dropping off her child after the drug drop because it's on the return trip, right? So whatever she went to go do, she's now coming back, and that's when she's dropping off her kid. So if the intention of the trip, whatever it was, where she was going, was something illegal, something dangerous, and so many other things, I would have assumed that she would have arranged if she left the child with somebody else. Let's just say she was afraid or whatever the case may be. Then it doesn't sound like the timing in that is set up right. Now, if the intention of the trip was to go out and meet somebody so that, she felt unsafe. Now, could it be that she went this long way this way and then came back to throw somebody off? Possibly, I guess. That's a possibility. But it seems like because of the return trip aspect of it, I don't feel confident in that. You know what I mean? Now, I don't feel confident that was the intention. I think that if they had her going in one direction and the farthest that they have her going, and they have confirmation there that's where Melodee was at, and then as she returns back home, there's zero confirmation on the entire route going back home, then I would say, yeah, the intention or something bad happened at the drop-off. So her being seen on camera on the way back also means that nothing went wrong to a certain extent. I mean, I guess there's still a small possibility there, but if she was doing something illegal, and then I'm still saying if and allegedly because I don't know, and I'm not really leaning towards that being the intention of the trip, solely because let's just say that it was a drug thing, right? Maybe perhaps they don't want to set, law enforcement don't want to set anybody off, but why not arrest her for something with drugs, trafficking, and stuff like that, versus the false imprisonment? Like, it's food for thought there, right? Well, anyways, so to me, this just kind of screams out that I don't even know if they know why she took that trip. I'm sure they have a lot better idea than any of us, for sure, but she's coming back. To me, it just kind of says that the intention wasn't that. Now, there could have been multiple other things, right? Like, for instance, if I went to Dallas not too long ago to pick up drop off my vehicle to get some work done on it with a mechanic. On the way back, we stopped by at a place to get some kolaches, and the intention wasn't to go get the kolaches, but that was added to our route on the way back. So possibly, on the way back, she had some intention to hide someone, or hide her daughter, if she felt like, I don't know, maybe she did somebody wrong in this drop off. I have no idea. There's so many things that could be going on here. But law enforcement aren't looking in that direction. Well, I don't know that. Let me rephrase that. Law enforcement arrested her for something different. They arrested her for the false imprisonment. I'm sure they have a clear understanding of what she was doing and where she was going, and maybe perhaps why she was doing the trip. They're not going to tell us about that. If they do know, if they are aware of what's going on, if they do know what she was doing, then it must not be something that they can arrest her for. Because why not arrest her for that too, or charge her for those things, right? Charge her for the false imprisonment. I don't know. Maybe perhaps that's easier to prove, right? And so, you have somebody saying that she didn't allow her to leave. So, yeah, that aspect. And I'm assuming it's a female. It could have been a male. I have no idea. They're being super secretive about it. Could the wig and the disguise and stuff be paranoia? It very much can be. If she was scared of somebody in particular that was close to her, like a boyfriend, right? And maybe there's somebody like if we were to go through it, like, it could just be like a domestic violence thing, and she's scared for her kids. She goes and drops off her kids somewhere else. What's the problem with producing the child at that point? You know what I mean? Like, all right, I understand you maybe don't want to say anything to law enforcement or anything like that, because of the abuse, and you've separated yourself. You now have your kids somewhere safe. Why can't you say, all right, hey, I'm in this violent relationship and I'm trying to get away, or just, hey, I'm in a situation and my kid's over here. It's weird. It's weird. We have Show Poodles becoming the newest member. Thank you, Show Poodles. Please hit the like button, guys. Please hit the like button and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And so here is the video of Ashley being arrested. Man, she looks a lot smaller, compared with everybody else around her. She looks like a very small person. And she's also wearing like a similar wig, but darker than the one that she was wearing in that video there, at the rental place. Now, unless I'm not saying there's a filter, but unless like the settings on that is just showing things lighter than they truly are on that camera, then it could be very much the same wig, but this one looks to be a little bit darker. I'm going to mute it. It's not saying anything. And all they're doing is just arresting her. 3 of them, 3 officers coming in. Oh, not showing it. My bad. I apologize. Let me pull this back up. It's because this screen's weird. All right, let me play it with the audio. They're not. Thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate you guys. So she looks really tiny compared to everybody else. You know, I'm gonna mute it, as you guys can see now. Nothing there, but she looks super tiny compared to everybody else. Female officer there and 2 male officers that are arresting her. Not being combative, for whatever that take, or whatever you take that for. And let's finish watching. I'm going to pull it up this time. Let's finish watching this. There was a little bit more to this News Nation video.
Yeah, nothing suspicious there. Moving boxes. For a woman who just, last week was hauled out of that house and taken with what looked like detectives, plainclothes detectives with sidearms in their gun holsters, got her into a vehicle and drove off with her to a quote-unquote alternate location right before police and FBI raided her home for hours. And a storage locker, and also searched the rental car that she'd been using. You may recall late last week, this happened in Lompoc, California, right? And they did those searches, but then weirdly, she returned. That part was a head scratcher to me. That alternate location after the storage locker and all the rest, no, she was allowed to return. And after that, the neighbor says that Ashley did not venture out of the house for 72 hours. But on Sunday, she went somewhere in an Uber, apparently for about 2 hours, according to the neighbor. And on Monday, a sheriff's deputy was back and knocking on her door and said they, quote, had something to give her, end quote. But Ashley Buzzard, keeping in constant, behavior, refused to answer the door. So I know what you're thinking, and no, police and the feds aren't just relying on neighbors for intelligence. What's believed to be plain-clothed officers or agents are parked outside of Ashley's house round the clock. As for your other question, why Ashley Buzzard hasn't been hauled in and charged with something, anything? I wish I knew the answer to that, but...
Thank you.
Well, she has now. She's been arrested and charged with felony imprisonment. And so, interesting stuff. So she was brought back, a lot of things, a lot of warrants being searched, vehicle being searched, and they ended up charging her with false imprisonment of somebody else in an unrelated crime. Just kind of curious as to why they're not charging her with anything involving this incident with Melodee, the disappearance, whether it was because she went out and did something, right? She got a rental vehicle, swapped out the license plates, had some wigs. Looks like she was wearing a wig during the time that she got arrested. So the wig aspect, I know a lot of people might look at that and say, hey, is she being deceptive? Is she trying to hide? Or is that just her normal thing? Does she just wear wigs? It could be. It also could be something deceptive. It seems that law enforcement is really looking at it in that manner. Now, I'm not going to show who said this because I'm not trying to say anything bad against anybody. I just want to pull up what, this one person on Twitter had written and kind of talk about it, and then we'll go forward from there. So it says, Melodee Buzzard, let's be clear, Melodee is not missing. She's being hidden from the state. I'm not sure how you would know that she is not missing if the mother's not being cooperative, right? It'd be one thing if there was some sort of verifiable means of verifying that she is okay, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. And it sounds like Ashley Buzzard's being very uncooperative. And instead of admitting their own failures, Santa Barbara County officials have turned their power against the mother who dared to stand up for her child. How do you know she's standing up for her child? I mean, she hasn't said anything. She hasn't said anything about anybody. And if she if she is protecting, or why is she hiding her from the state? I'm assuming, and I guess this is what some folks are maybe saying, is that, well, she hadn't been to school. Ashley hadn't been keeping up with her homeschooling stuff because there was some documentation that she should have entered, and that's why the school was calling in. Maybe she got afraid that the state was going to take her away from her, and so she went off and had somebody else, taking care of her kid that she trusts to not come forward and not say anything, because she's afraid that they're going to come and take her kid away. Maybe that's why she got the rental vehicle and everything else, because she was afraid that they were already watching her. Okay. Let's see. Let's think about that. The only aspect about that I don't like is the fact that the Melodee was seen on the return trip home. Right. So if the intention of the entire trip was to hide Melodee, then I understand the return trip aspect of it. I think that it would have been the focal point of the trip, and wherever that would have been at would have been, like, if I think it was at Nebraska, like if the last place that they saw, Melodee was in Nebraska, then I'd say, hey, you know what? I think you have something there. I think that makes sense. But that's not the case. It was on the return trip. It was near the Colorado-Utah border. Kind of throws a wrench into this one. But let's continue. But and standing up for her child, I'm not sure what she's standing up for her child for. Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. Maybe I'm not seeing something here about the standing up for her child aspect. Was the state, like, I don't get it. I don't get what is she standing up for the child for? By squeezing Ashley through trumped up baseless charges claiming she somehow prevented someone from leaving. The state is abusing its authority to intimidate, punish, and silence. This is not law enforcement. Now, I don't know the background between the charges, right? Which is why I was saying it could be as simple as, she cornering somebody and not letting them leave that area, because it doesn't say what location. It says a location. It could be as severe as her kidnapping someone, so there's a broad spectrum there of what it could be. I don't know if it's baseless or not. I think it's I think it's a little bit premature to say that it's baseless without knowing the facts behind it. Like you know what I'm saying? I for one do think it is a tactic to keep her from fleeing and to keep a track on her as well. Now, is that tactic something that she allowed because she violated the law? Or is that a tactic that they are, articulating based off of maybe a gray area situation so that they can keep tracks on somebody? She could have a point there. I'm not going to say she doesn't. The author of this tweet or this post. Santa Barbara County's actions are unconstitutional, unethical, and unacceptable. If officials believe they can bully a mother into submission to cover their own missteps, they are gravely mistaken. The people are watching and will not stay silent while a mother's rights are trampled and any child safety is politicized. Well, the thing is, if Ashley was in fear of her children's safety, isn't law enforcement who she's supposed to go to? Like, school is just trying to check on the welfare of her child's well-being because they hadn't seen her in a while. She hadn't followed up, and she hadn't put in the documentation. If the school doesn't follow up, if Ashley ended up doing something very nefarious to her kid, and we end up finding out, I can see a lot of people playing the other side of this coin saying, why didn't the school do something sooner? They had a long time to figure this out. She hadn't been in school. She hadn't done this. She hadn't done that. It's always outcome based. Uh, the fight, right? You know, you get mad on to them if what they did work. If it doesn't work, doesn't matter whatever it did. If it doesn't work, they're at fault, and it's unfortunate because it could be like a scenario base where if like here, if the school would have gone sooner, something maybe could have been happening or something could have happened and prevented something if something nefarious happened. I have no idea. And then at the same token, you have this saying, hey, they shouldn't do anything. Mother has a right to not take her kid to school, and allow the child to grow up without an education. I'm assuming that's the standpoint that she has. Justice and truth demand better, and will not stop until both are served. So, food for thought. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is... Let me see. So this person goes on to say, law enforcement never stated that, and I know I'm not showing this because this is a smaller one. I don't want to highlight anybody because, like I said, she could be right. I don't know. Law enforcement never stated that they thought she was dead, even stated they thought she was with a friend or a distant relative. I don't think I've ever read that in there in anything. I think they've said that there are no verifiable anything. But she says they thought that she was with a friend or a distant relative. MSM, the narrative she was dead or sold into sex trafficking. Of course, neither, which is true. I don't think she was sold into sex trafficking either. Now, the passing is a possibility. I think that there's a possibility that there was an altercation on the road and that she left her kid somewhere or something happened with her kid, or if there was the intention of the entire trip was drug related. Is it possible that Melodee got into something and, succumbed to those, whatever she got into, the effects of that? And, it wasn't something that was immediate, it took a couple of days or whatever the case may be. And she panicked and disposed of her somewhere along the road. There's a lot of possibilities here. I don't think anybody should be jumping to a conclusion one way or another too much, but I do think there's a lot of red flags here when it comes to Melodee. She's not being cooperative. She's not talking about where the kids are. She's the last person to have seen them, and she's so much more. Like, for instance, I've talked about the Jack and Lilly Sullivan disappearance. A lot of people look at Daniel Martell and Malaya Brooks Murray, and say that there's a lot of inconsistencies and red flags and things of that nature. But the thing that they have done is cooperated fully. They've turned over their phones. They've taken lie detector tests and passed. They have allowed for a forensic download of the phone, forensic review of their finances, their GPS locations, several different interrogations throughout this entire time. They've allowed for multiple searches on their property, including recently. And so you have some folks that are being very cooperative throughout the entire aspect, and not so much here, and for what purpose, right? It's not making sense to me, that aspect. But we'll see. I mean, I'm one that follows the evidence in this case here. It's very early, and I have no idea about. I have no idea, what's going on yet. But we'll see. All right, I'll answer your questions. Put a couple of stars in there. We'll do this for the next 10 minutes or so. If you have questions, let me see them, and we'll do that from here on out. There we go. All right. All right. So Deanne says maybe he planned to, or maybe she planned to move, dropped the kid, then came back home to pack. She dropped a 9-year-old off by herself. I mean, that's. I mean, if she dropped her off by herself, that's a crime on its own. If she was trying to move away and she dropped the kid off with somebody else, why be uncooperative about that? You know what I mean? That's the one thing that bothers me about it is like, why be uncooperative about that? Why not say, hey, you know what, my tia, my aunt, my grandma, my neighbor's niece's cousin's co-worker's friend who I trust dearly has Melodee, and this is where they're at. You know, they're just holding it down while I'm getting ready to go out there. You get what I'm saying? So like, I just don't understand the uncooperativeness of it. The uncooperativeness aspect screams out that there is something that she's obviously trying to withhold information about, trying to hide. The question would be next, why? What would be the purpose of doing that? Now, you know, maybe somebody took her, right, and said, hey, if, you know, we want you to do this, that, or whatever the case may be, and you know, if you don't do it, we're going to hurt her. If you tell police that we have her, she's going to die or something of that nature, you know. It seems kind of theatrical, but I guess plausible. I just think that there's a lot of moving parts there. And I'm hoping with the warrants that law enforcement would have already been able to gather and get from this case, they would have been able to start to unpeel that banana, so to speak. I got a call as soon as I came in. So if anyone, mom called, said finally home. Good to hear. Good to hear. Standing up for herself, maybe she perceived parental prerogative. Proof of life is definitely needed if we are to save other children who are in danger. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem, right? You know, if there's nothing wrong, there shouldn't be a problem saying this is where she's at. You know, you could do a welfare check, and then you know she can go on and sue everybody who said she was doing something else or that she sold her kid or whatever the case may be. Apparently she was in a remote schooling program. Yeah, she was, but there was a lot of like paperwork and stuff that she didn't, you know, complete. And so that's one of the reasons why they were like contacting her. And then I guess they wanted to do a welfare check with her because they hadn't seen her in a while and couldn't find her. But yeah, I mean, could that be the reason? Is she afraid that she's going to lose custody of her kid and doesn't want her kid to go into the foster care? And so she's found somebody. That's very plausible. I mean, it's possible. You know, I would assume whoever, you know, she came up with this plan with that lives out of town, that there's some sort of communication to have that happen, right? Because she, you know, traveled a great amount of distance there. I don't know, a lot of people are going to say burner phones and this and that, but burner phones aren't as like covert as you think, you know. That might get you out of trouble and stuff to a certain extent until the focal point is on a specific person. Because even with a burner phone, you have to like buy minutes, you have to buy the phone itself, and there's a trace there, right? There's a trail, and so it could be take a little bit of time to figure it out. But for instance, even like Rex Humerman, the Long Island serial killer, he taunted his victims and stuff by calling his victims' family members off of burner phones and stuff like that to taunt them about what he did and things like that to their family members. And he was able to get traced back through financial means and surveillance from the stores that he purchased the burner phones and things like that. So, you know, you leave a digital footprint, you'll leave a financial footprint, you know, one way or another when it comes to those type of things. A person cannot think of everything, You can think of a few things, but you won't think of everything. Ask Brian Koberger. And so to me, I just feel that they would have had that there, but why not produce? I just feel that they would have been able to kind of uncover that, especially now that they have her in custody. That just happened. I don't know if they've had her phone up until this point, right? I haven't seen a warrant for that, but if they do get her phone, that'll be a huge, huge thing for the investigation, because they'll be able to, if they're able to get warrants and if she hasn't destroyed it or got a new one or things of that nature, they'll be able to get like GPS and stuff like that, and also financial things. And like, if you can, like, for instance, trace somebody's footsteps, and like if somebody said, oh, well, what if they bought it with cash? Okay, well, they most likely had their phone with them when they went and purchased it. If you look at their GPS locations, and then you see them at a Walmart or whatever during a specific time frame, then you go get a warrant from Walmart to go, get their surveillance video for that time frame. Fortunately for everybody here, this disappearance just recently happened, so it's not like much of this stuff has been deleted or recorded over yet. I'm sure it's getting close to it, but not yet. And so, if somebody went to a Walmart, got purchased something through a self-checkout, so there's not a person who visibly saw them checking out, and they used cash to, as a transaction, they're still on camera and their phone is still on them, and giving them their location. And so you just got to cross-reference things. It's not very difficult to figure out. And so to come up with a plan for somebody else to take care of her kid in a different state requires, like I said, some things like communication, planning. There's probably multiple people you're talking to, quite a bit. She planned out a lot. She got the rental vehicle, got the license plates, the wigs. So there's a lot of planning involved. Another Lori Vallow. I don't know yet. Maybe. Lori Vallow, I don't know that case very well. I know a little bit. I know that she got involved with somebody, and they utilized some sort of religion so that they can, and took the lives of her kids. And I think she also took the lives of her husband, or attempted to, and some other folks. It was pretty crazy. And I believe she was like, she went on these vacations with her new dude, who ended up getting convicted as well. So craziness, maybe. I only know a little bit, but maybe. I think there's a lot that we would need to figure out first, right? The outcome is probably more important in the Ashley Buzzard case, if it is. But you do make a point there. You do make a point. In the last 10 similar cases, none of the kids were in hiding or found alive. Yeah, it's very rare. The statistics are what they are. The rental should have a GPS. What if they have other phones? But yeah, like I said, you got to pay for it, right? Whether it's by minutes, whether it's by a lot of different things, you got to financially pay for it. It connects to your router. If you're not paying for it and you're using your internet off of your, wireless internet or hotspot or whatever, it's all a digital footprint that can be traced. And so even if they have other phones, like, there's a footprint, there's a trail to it. They got to purchase it. They got to put minutes on it. They got to be able to use it. They got to connect towers, still connect to a lot of things that, that leave a digital trail for somebody to get caught. But yeah, the rental car would have GPS, which kind of makes me think that, I don't know, that it makes you wonder, right? Because if the rental vehicle has GPS, then obviously she didn't go out of her way somewhere. There's not anything that's standing out. Then again, there could be. I mean, a lot of people put a lot of weight into searches and think that because somebody, ground and search rescue team goes out in a specific area and they don't find anything, that there's nothing there. That's not entirely true. And so, they're keeping things hush hush. So they may, very well may have gone. I mean, it's a long area. They very well may have gone and been searching in certain areas. I wonder if there's anything out of the ordinary on the GPS, right? On the trip, like, did they go out of their way on some area? Was the vehicle parked in a different area for a long period of time? They should have the key cycles and a bunch of stuff. This was a brand new vehicle. It was a 2024 Chevy Malibu, I believe. When Ellie and CPS ask for you to produce your minor child because it's their concern, it's not a good look. It's not. Mental health issues are also concerning, and she has been found in the house with rotten food and a mess. I saw that. So yeah, there's a lot of other things that are also concerning here. I understand why some folks might, look at this and say, hey, she's a mom. She has a right to allow anybody to watch her kid and stuff. But sometimes some people do some pretty crazy things, and law enforcement needs to be able to investigate that to its fullest, especially if there's evidence or suspicion there. You do need evidence to do certain things. So, let's see. Hey, what's going on? Sirius in the building. We got Heather in the building. We had Steeler fans earlier. I saw her. Thank you, mods. Thank you. Good update on the case. Without a lot more evidence, this could all be about debts. It could be. I mean, there's so many things this could be. I'm open to any possibility at this point. A lot of people would look at, like, for instance, Jack and Lilly Sullivan, and they'll tell me, hey, I made my mind up pretty early in that case. And it's not necessarily that be the case. I still haven't made my mind up 100%. I'm leaning towards one direction for sure. But the difference is that there was a lot more information and evidence available in that case. Not very much in this one. This one's still very much in its infancy. And so, I still need a lot more to kind of determine one way or another. But I would say there's a lot of red flags pointing in the direction of mom right now. Maggie goes, if the people who have missing children could prove they were alive, why would you not do that to avoid all the investigation and police involvement in your life? Why choose to make your life harder? That's a good point, especially since if they had some sort of like expressed consent from mom, dad is died in a motorcycle accident, so it's not like you have somebody that's gonna say no to whoever this person is. But you're absolutely right. If it's just some random, well, not some random, but if it's somebody that she knows and trusts, which you would expect that if you're going to be living your child with somebody out of state for an extended period of time, that must be somebody you know and trust, or somebody that somebody you know and trust knows and trust. I don't think you go far from that, right? And then the person that knows this person, like if you're trusting somebody with your child, and you don't know this person, and they're coming off of the recommendation of someone, like I said, that's got to be somebody you trust very highly, especially because this isn't like, oh, let me go down the street and I can pick up my kid, right? This is states away, hours upon hours away of driving. And now in this situation here, she's in jail and no way of getting to her, right? And yet she's still being very secretive and refusing to say anything. So the longer it's, so that tells me another thing, right? If they have her contacts and they have people that she talks to and her friends that she's close with, and none of them know anything, again, she took a trip across the country, almost, halfway across the country. And you would think that, if she doesn't know anybody over there and there isn't communication with anybody that she knows, that doesn't usually equate to something very positive either. All right, I'll answer a few more and then we're going to call it a show. Did this mom have access to any guns? I'm not sure. I am not sure. It's a good question, though. Her behavior smells DV. Could she have been in a DV relationship? I kind of talked about that earlier, Neuro. If she was in some sort of domestic violence relationship and she was trying to protect her kid and, get out of it and whatnot. I get that and I understand that, but why is she now still being uncooperative with law enforcement when they're asking about her child? All right. Why is her child going missing only after CPS comes knocking, asking about the children? Right. Because she hadn't produced her in a while. Now, again, she was on remote homeschooling for school and stuff. And so there's reasons behind it, but she didn't have her paperwork and things of that nature. I'm concerned if she was getting the schooling that she required at all. There's no documentation for that, and so that's why the school was coming around. And if she's hiding them, it's because she probably doesn't have the documentation. I mean, if you have what you're supposed to have, there's no need to go and take your kid and hide from CPS. You know what I'm saying? So. But I just don't understand, if she wasn't in a domestic violence situation, why would she still at this point continually be uncooperative with where the kids are? Now, okay, with a cop, could she have been in a cop? Yeah, but this is now a federal situation. You know what I mean? You have the FBI that is coming in and talking, so it's not like and it's not like, for instance, I think there would be more of this would probably be more of a plausible situation if the baby father was still alive and the baby father was the domestic abuser and he was a cop. Then maybe you might have something there, but like, there's nobody that has the rights to her outside of Melodee. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, outside of Ashley. So it's not like she's trying to prevent somebody that, from getting custody of her or having some sort of temporary custody that she don't trust that could harm her. Doesn't seem like that's the case. So I doubt it, but I guess possible. I just doubt it. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt until there's evidence. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I just feel there's a lot of red flags. But yeah, no, I hear you. In this case, I'm a little bit more on the in the middle than I am, like, for instance, Jack and Lilly, or any of the other cases that have had evidence that have come out. There's not enough there yet, but law enforcement movement kind of indicate that there's some suspicion of something, and that's kind of where I'll leave it at for that one. I have no idea if the mom had any access to guns. How does she make a living? That's a good question. I have no idea. I assume she works, but I don't know. What do you think they found to take carpet, drywall, and concrete? Ooh, I didn't know they took that. I need to look that up. If they took that, then, I mean, it could mean that they found, I mean, that sounds like they found some sort of substance, splattered. But I don't know. But even if they did, like for instance, you know, if I had a bloody nose today and I get blood all over the place here, it doesn't mean that something nefarious happens if I go missing later on. You know, it just means I had a bloody nose. So they may have found something. They may not have found anything, and they're just taking it for testing. They may have found a stain of something and not sure what the stain is. Could be wine. I'm sure they would have done some presumptive testing for blood. But I don't know. This is the first I hear of it, to be honest with you. I didn't know that they took any of that. But that's interesting if they did. Don't all people in the U.S. have access to guns? No, not really. Certain states are super, super strict against it. I think California is one of them. It doesn't mean you can't get one in California or New York or Chicago. Those places are very strict in guns, but have a big issue with guns. So it's not like they can't, the bad people don't have access to them, but good people don't, for the most part. Now you come to Texas, that's a different story. Everybody here almost has one. She could have met someone online too. See, but meeting somebody online, especially out of state or whatever, and if they lived in the states that she was traveling through, that would be something that's kind of easy to find for law enforcement. They should be able to find that pretty simple, and do a background on whoever it is that she met online, and find out where they live and through their IP address and so many other things, and get some surveillance to figure out if there's somebody out there. But yeah, she definitely could have met somebody online, but meeting somebody online leaves a huge forensic digital footprint. But we would wonder and worry about you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we this case is to me, I see some red flags. Like I said with mom, I'm leaning towards mom knows. I think mom knows a lot more than she's saying. I 100% believe that mom knows more than what she's saying, and I think she holds the answers at this point. I hope she says something. I hope the little girl is safe. I sincerely do. I sincerely hope that she is with a friend or a relative or whoever. I just feel like those things aren't hard to figure out for law enforcement. Like who are her friends, who are her relatives, and it shouldn't be too hard to go and at least take a peek. Now, can they be hiding somebody very well? Of course, right? But if she went to Nebraska and they go through her, they do a background on Ashley, and they find out she has 15 friends in Nebraska. Well, you've narrowed it down pretty quick, and so you can get some eyes on them and do some investigating on them and their whereabouts and movements, and talk to them, and I can talk. Hey, was she here? If I'm hoping she didn't get rid of her phone and she has the same one. You can cross-reference where these individuals live with where Ashley's phone was and things of that nature. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. For there not to be a digital footprint or anything like that makes the possibility of like an altercation and something happening out there on the road more likely, but not the only option at this point. Well, guys, I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuning in. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I'll be back here on Tuesday. If you like football, I'll be on here. Well, not on here, but I'll be on the YouTube channel, Steel Curtain Network, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central on a channel called Steel Curtain Network, on an episode called The Steelers Hangover. It'll be me and Shannon White. We talk about the Steelers post-game show. But I'll be back on Tuesday, I think, with Dr. Vona, and we'll be talking about true crime. So with that being said, guys, I'm out of here. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, show the mods some love, and say thank you for being out here and doing the most absolute best work that they do, the top mods in the game. I can't speak highly enough. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next time. Go Steelers. Oh, we need a win tonight. Peace.